I was supposed to be house-sitting with my niece at my older brother's house, while he and his wife were on a trip. As we talked happily about our plans for the next day, my niece reached for the closet door, signaling that she wanted to go to bed. Without hesitation, she slid into the closet, leaving me surprised. When I quickly grabbed her arm, she looked up at me, puzzled. My name is Melissa, and I'm 24 years old. I'm a housewife, and I have an older brother named Sam, who is 5 years older than me. We lost our parents when we were young, but we've always supported each other. Even after getting married, we still have a close family bond. My in-laws live far away in Alaska, so we can't rely on them easily. Sam and his wife had a quick wedding after having problems with her parents, and she has been distant from her family ever since, with no relatives nearby. We've been there for each other without hesitation. Our relationship grew stronger when Sam and his wife had a daughter. 4 years later, I had a daughter too. Our daughters grew up close, almost like real sisters. Now, as my niece Sarah was about to turn 10, Sam told me about a trip he and his wife were planning for their 10th wedding anniversary. He asked if I could look after Sarah while they were away for one night. I was happy to help, but when I asked when I should pick Sarah up, he shook his head. He wanted me to stay over at his house with Sarah because he was worried about leaving the house empty. I teased him about being too worried, but in the end, I agreed to stay over by myself, leaving my daughter at home. She still gets a bit anxious about sleepovers, so my husband would stay with her. The day of Sam and his wife's anniversary trip arrived, and I went to stay at their house. I held Sarah's hand as we waved goodbye to her parents. She seemed a bit uneasy as she watched them leave, but our house-sitting adventure was about to start. I had originally planned to bring my daughter along and have my husband take her up at bedtime, but Sarah really didn't want her there. I didn't press her because I knew she loved playing with my daughter. To cheer her up, I promised to take her to my house to play after breakfast the next day, which made her smile. Sarah usually likes to play with my daughter, so I brought some fun games and puzzles that we could all enjoy together. We spent time playing games and cooking dinner, but I noticed Sarah stayed close to me and kept glancing around nervously. At first, I thought she might just miss her parents, or her behavior didn't change after a few hours. I kept asking her if something was bothering her, but she always said it was nothing and wouldn't share what was on her mind. It felt like she was on guard against something I couldn't see. When it was time for bed, I finally started to understand what was going on. Sarah changed into her pajamas and opened the closet door with a smile. She said she was going to sleep in there and would leave for my house in the morning. I was surprised to find there was a bed inside the closet that I hadn't noticed before. As I tried to understand the situation, Sarah quickly laid down on the bed and said goodnight while trying to close the door. I asked her, "Wait, are you really going to sleep in there?" She looked serious and said yes, but that she would leave the door open a little. "If I hear anything, I'll wake up right away," she added. Not wanting to seem confused, I invited Sarah to sleep with me instead. After some hesitation, she agreed and joined me in my bed. She explained that she wanted the bed in the closet as a hiding place. I didn't get why she felt that way, but I tried to sound cheerful and said it was fine. When I asked her why she needed a hiding place, she made me promise not to laugh and whispered, "The monster will come." Hearing that might make you think she was just a sweet, innocent girl, but the story she told next was enough to make me believe in the existence of this monster. Sarah was shaking and holding on to my arm tightly. "The monster is really scary and clever," she said. "It only comes when Daddy isn't home. When the monster comes, Mommy has to fight it off, and I must stay in the closet until she does. Mommy always cries while she fights. I tried to help her once, but I got so scared when the monster started banging on the closet door. I hugged the trembling Sarah and took a deep breath. In my heart, I thought maybe this monster really did exist and that it wasn't just a trick to get a child to go to bed. Finding out about my brother's wife cheating on him in such a surprising way made me feel lost. If this monster was her lover, then it wouldn't come to the house when she wasn't there. Sarah believed the monster came on days when Daddy was away, and since my brother was gone today, she stayed close to me, keeping watch by the windows and doors. I felt angry at my sister-in-law, thinking about my sweet niece Sarah and my brother, who trusted his wife. But more than that, I wanted to comfort Sarah. I held her hand and smiled. It's okay, Auntie's here. You said the monster is clever, right? So it'll be surprised to see a stranger and won't come in. Plus, your mommy, who the monster usually targets, is with Daddy today, so the monster can't get to her. Even though I was trying to reassure her, Sarah still looked anxious and didn't know the true identity of the monster. As time passed, she seemed more afraid that the monster would attack soon. She suggested we hide in the closet together, so I tried to calm her down by encouraging her to talk about her worries. I thought that if I helped her face her fears one by one, she would eventually get sleepy. When I heard more from Sarah, I realized I couldn't just sit back and relax. Instead of putting her to bed, I quickly took her out of the house without even changing her clothes. I rushed home in my car, explained the situation to my husband, and arranged for him and his friends to stay overnight at my brother Sam's house. Around 10 p.m. that night, I got a call from Sam. He asked if Sarah had gone to bed yet and reminded me not to forget about my own husband and daughter. He told me to lock the house up and warned me strongly not to leave. I had to hold back my fear while talking to him. After the call, I looked at Sarah, who was sleeping peacefully with my daughter, and promised myself I would deal with the monster. The next morning, my husband returned from Sam's house and told me what happened the night before. I felt relieved that I had made the right choice to leave. My family spent the day at home with Sarah, waiting for my brother and his wife to pick her up. When my brother arrived, he questioned why Sarah and I had left the house at night. He reminded me that he had asked me many times not to leave and that I had promised to stay. His accusations made me uncomfortable, so I asked him how he knew we were not home. He avoided my gaze and said they had given Sarah a smartphone with a GPS function. If that were true, I thought, he wouldn't have warned me so seriously the night before. If he had checked the GPS, he would have seen we weren't at his house. Suppressing my urge to confront Sam right away, I continued the conversation quietly so the kids wouldn't hear. By the way, 2 unknown men came to your house last night. Who were they? Why would they come to a house that was supposed to be occupied only by Sarah and me? Sam's voice trembled, but it wasn't because he was scared. It seemed like he was carefully choosing his words. Just then, his wife, Kate, called for Sarah loudly, making it clear she wanted to leave. When Sarah heard her mother, she came out of the room, and Kate pulled her away roughly. Suddenly, Sam changed his attitude and said, I don't forgive you for what happened, but I'm leaving today. As he pushed Sarah toward the door, my brother and his wife tried to force Sarah to leave with them. When I tried to talk them out of it, they ignored me and didn't even look back. I saw Sarah reaching out to me, resisting her parents, so I quickly pulled her towards me. What are you doing? Kate shouted, surprised. She let go of Sarah's hand, and I stepped in front of Sarah to protect her, putting some space between us and the couple. They yelled at us, trying to take Sarah back, and my husband and I pushed them out of the room, insisting we wouldn't let them take her. Police officers, who had been waiting at the entrance, quickly detained my brother and his wife. The officers tried to calm my brother and Kate, who looked confused by what was happening. Sam insisted to the officers that we should be the ones in trouble, claiming we had taken Sarah and were keeping her from them. Please rescue her quickly. This isn't the time to hold me down. I won't run or hide, so let me go, he yelled. Our daughter noticed the commotion and came out, hiding behind me. She spoke to Sarah, saying she wasn't locked up at all. I wasn't sure if Sam heard them, but he sternly told Sarah to come with him. However, she was too scared of her father's anger to leave my side. Kate stood quietly next to the officers, glancing at my brother as if she wanted to say something, but she didn't. When my brother was completely restrained by the officers, my husband held up his smartphone in front of him. I quickly told Sarah and our daughter to go back to the other room and close the door to keep the noise down. Once they were safe, my husband started playing a video he had filmed at my brother's house the night before. As soon as they saw the video, my brother and Kate turned pale. The video started with the house key slowly turning, showing two men quietly entering the house with a duplicate key. The man looked in a good mood and greeted my husband and his friends, joking about how they were also ghosts. One of them mentioned getting a discount because the woman was his sister. They laughed and said they were lucky to play with the kid today. Their smiles were so villainous that calling them monsters would be an insult to real monsters. I couldn't see the screen from where I was, but just the sound was enough to give me chills. My husband's friends started questioning the men about how often they visited my brother's house and if they always came in pairs. The men began to realize something was wrong and asked where Sarah and I were. When they saw my husband's angry expression and heard that we weren't there, they finally understood they were in trouble. The men quickly ran away. It was unclear if they hadn't seen my husband recording or if they were pretending not to know about it. My brother, who claimed to be a close friend of theirs, looked terrified and insisted he didn't know anything. He said it was all a setup against him. Before watching the video, I thought my brother was innocent and that my sister-in-law had planned everything. But the video clearly showed my brother, Sam, with little Sarah, and no one believed his claims of innocence. The police took him away. Kate was also acting like she had nothing to do with it, but the officers had heard from Sarah and had many questions for her, so they asked her to come with them. Both Sam and Kate were taken into custody. Later, during the police investigation, they confessed everything and were arrested for their crimes. It turned out Kate had been inviting men over while Sam was at work and was paid for it. When she realized there was a demand for children, she exploited Sarah. She thought she was helping her mother, who was being bullied by some bad people. Innocent little Sarah did what she was told and posed for photos. These photos were just pictures of a child. With no inappropriate content, Kate would take these photos with a disposable camera, have them developed, and then show them to clients, creating a bidding situation for them. Even though I hated what Kate was doing, I thought it wouldn't affect my husband and me as long as that was all there was to it. But instead of trying to protect their daughter, Sam decided to get more men to become clients. He thought that by bringing in more people, they would make more money. With this simple idea, he even tried to involve me in their business. I would never have agreed to this if he had just asked me directly. So he made a plan to force me into working for him and use photos as a threat to keep me in line. They chose a day when the neighbors weren't around, locked me and Sarah in their house, and then left for a vacation. After exchanging their house key for a lot of money, they thought they could pretend they had nothing to do with what was happening. What Sam and Kate didn't expect was that Sarah, who usually obeyed them, would reveal the situation to protect me. Even though Sarah didn't understand most of the conversations happening at home, she knew that bad people were after us. She confided in me, and that's when I learned about the terrible things happening in Sam's house. That night, I asked my husband to record what the nasty people were doing. Their careless talk helped the police take action right away after I reported them. I also contacted Child Welfare Services to ensure Sarah's safety. We saw the police arresting Sam and Kate at their house, finally protecting Sarah from them. Both my brother and sister-in-law were arrested and faced serious charges, including breaking child welfare laws and laws against prostitution. They couldn't avoid prison time. Even though it was their first offense, the pictures of the child they had taken and saved over the years were especially troubling. The police warned us that once an image is leaked online, it can never be completely removed, which chilled me to the bone. Thankfully, since Kate had digitized the photos or sold them and had kept them stored safely, we managed to prevent any leaks. I can't understand how my once kind and trustworthy brother, Sam, could become such a horrible person. We had always helped each other before, and it frightens me to think that we had no idea he had changed so much. I just hope they face the reality of what they've done. After Sam and Kate were arrested, the men involved were also questioned by the police. Later, they claimed they were innocent since it was just an attempted crime. However, they found a child's photograph in their house, and during the investigation, Sam and Kate confessed to being involved in other crimes. This led to their arrest on multiple charges. After dealing with the bad people around us, we contacted Child Protective Services to ask what would happen to Sarah now that both her parents were in jail and no one could care for her. It was decided that Sarah would be taken away from her unfit parents, which was a relief, but since Sam and I don't have parents, and my sister-in-law's family had cut ties, we learned that if we couldn't find someone to take Sarah in, she would have to go to a foster care facility. After talking it over with my husband, we decided to adopt Sarah. She meant a lot to me, and I didn't want to be separated from her because I love her like my own daughter. Thankfully, my husband agreed, and we took the chance to move to the countryside where my in-laws live. My daughter was excited to spend more weekends with her beloved grandparents and was overjoyed that her wish for an older sister came true with Sarah's arrival. Finally free from her parents, Sarah, being a remarkable child, quickly adapted to her new home. She started living a peaceful and happy life as an older sister.